We're here with Rabbi Josh Wander from, where do you reside?
Mount of Olives in Jerusalem.
What about for Jews? Is it a holy place, an important place now?
Absolutely. It's part of Jerusalem. It is not only a treasure trove of Jewish history, with, like I said, 150,000 Jews buried from 3,000 years ago until today, with the exception of 19. Between 1948 and 67, it was under illegal Jordanian occupation. Not only did they not allow Jews to be buried there, but they destroyed over 45,000 Jewish graves there. But it is overlooking the Temple Mounts, which is a very special place.
So when critics of Israel claim, well, just being anti-Israel or anti-Zionist is not anti-Semitic, is living in Israel or survival of Israel a part of Judaism and therefore against the criticism of the state of Israel, unlike among some Neturei Karta or Satmars? Is Israel intrinsic to the faith?
I don't believe that anyone argues, including the groups that you just mentioned, that Israel is intrinsic to the faith. Whether it's an obligation immediately to move there for all Jews, or whether it's something that's futuristic, is discussed. But everybody across the board, every Jew believes that the land of Israel is the eternal homeland of the Jewish people. And it is definitely a very intrinsic part of our faith. A third of the commandments, the 613 commandments, can only be performed in the land of Israel. So clearly it is an intrinsic part of our faith.
Why now more than ever? In your view, you're here at a political convention, Shabbaton. What's on the horizon, the prospective horizon from a socio-political perspective?
I think we're living in a very dangerous time. Jabotinsky, you mentioned earlier, went around Europe in 1938 to 1939, warning Jews to leave Europe before it's too late. I believe that Jews should leave the exile before it's too late. We have an organization called Bring Them Home, nothing to do with the hostages, but has to do with American Jewry or world Jewry. And the goal is to educate and inform Jews around the world of the importance of living in the land of Israel today. We have the domain bringthemhome.org.al, but every year we've been adding different domains to point to that as well. Mm-hmm. So last year it was itstimetolive.com. This year we've upped it a little bit, and it's the new domain of this year is getoutnow.org. So I think that says it all. It's time to leave. I think that it's a very dangerous time for the Jewish people. It's going to get a lot worse very soon. No matter who wins the election, I think that if anything we've learned in our tragic Jewish history of the Jews throughout the world, throughout history, wherever we were, is that staying in the exile is dangerous, and when things go south in a country, the Jew is always to blame. So I think that you're going to see where right now the United States is imploding economically, sociologically. It is a very, very, very scary time to be a Jew in the exile.
Mm-hmm. In the exile, not only the United States, but where else?
Well, in Europe, I think it's a done deal. I think the Jews in Europe understand that it's over there. Mm-hmm. The worst exile is the one you don't realize you're in. So there are many American Jews that still don't understand that they're in exile. The Jewish Agency has had a course in basic foundations of Zionism that they've offered every year for many years here in North America. On an average year, there's between 100 and 150 attendees. I was told by a former member of Knesset, Dov Lipman, last week that since October 7th, they've had 9,000 applications to this course. Clearly, that has shaken up the Jews here in North America, many of which perhaps were unaffiliated, and they woke up one morning and realized that as unaffiliated or as affiliated as they are, they're still going to be targeted as Jews. So it's a scary time.
In the past, when there had to be emigrations from places like Yemen, maybe Morocco, the Israeli government set up special conditions, and I know that they have had conditions in the past with a basket of subsidies, for example. Is the Israeli government making any provisions now to accommodate, to encourage more people who may need more time learning the language or finding work or getting out of a temporary residency to find places to live?
I'm not aware of anything else that's being done. There is a lot more demand. For example, Nefesh B'Nefesh has 13 different communities that are, I think this is the first time in history, that entire communities are looking to move en masse. There is an uptick since October 7th of Jews looking into Aliyah through Nefesh B'Nefesh, and they're expecting a very, very sharp rise over the summer when most people make Aliyah. The Israeli government should be, and we are encouraging them, to start to prepare for what I believe is going to be a rescue mission of the Jews here in the United States.
Well, we're already seeing the start of pogroms. We saw it in 2020 in Los Angeles, in New York, and Jews are getting beaten, have been beaten since December 2019 in New York City on the streets. But it seems that the climate, especially in connection with this Israeli action in Gaza, the climate is turning against people showing displays of their Jewish identity, even if they're not Israeli, not connected at all, just against Judaism. What concerns do you have for the Galut diaspora population?
So my definition of where a Jew is safest is where they can openly be Jewish. I think in the land of Israel today, more than ever before, Jews are openly Jewish on the streets. They can show their Jewishness. While around the world, Jews unfortunately have to hide the fact that they're wearing a kippah. Many people are taking down their mezuzahs from their doorposts. There's even a company here in the United States that is called Camo Zuzah. They produce a product which is I'm not advertising for them, but they produce a product that is a metal box with a blinking red light. It looks like an alarm, and you put it over your mezuzah, and it hides the fact that you're Jewish. To me, it's obvious where it's safest and where it's most dangerous for a Jew to be.
But even in Israel, people are not wholly safe. And I meant that with a W-H-O-L-L-Y.
I disagree. I think that it is the safest place for a Jew to be. There's actually a medrash that says that in the end of days, that the land of Israel is going to look like a huge hurricane, and those that are looking from the outside will see it and think it's the most dangerous place to be, but the people that are inside in the eye of the storm is going to be quiet and safe. That's the calm that's inside the storm. I was just with a group this past week in the city of Hebron, and on the way back, we picked up two hitchhikers. One of them was an 8-year-old Jewish girl, and the other was a 10-year-old Jewish girl. I'm not sure that there's any city in the United States where a parent would let their 8-year-old or 10-year-old girl hitchhike. But in the so-called dangerous city of Hebron, that is completely okay. So we're talking about a completely different scale. I don't feel any danger when I walk the streets anywhere in Israel. Unfortunately, when I'm around the world, I do have that concern.
There's a theory that in the same way that people are trying to colonize the moon, they say, well, in case there's a disaster on Earth, then that they can repopulate. Is there some risk to all the Jews moving to Israel that if God forbid something happens there, catastrophe, that there'd still be Jews to repopulate if they lived in New Zealand or Greenland?
So there were rabbis following the Holocaust that mentioned such a thing. They quoted the biblical source that our forefather Jacob, Yaakov Avinu, split into two camps when Esav came to greet him, being concerned that if one camp would be destroyed, he would have another camp. And they felt that it was necessary to have two camps, one in the land of Israel, one in the United States, in order to split ourselves and make sure that if one is destroyed, the other one would survive. We're 70 years after that has happened, And today, we're no longer the fledgling country that we once were. We have, thank God, an amazing army. We have an amazing police force. I have 3 children that are serving. And we don't have the same, half of the Jewish people have already moved. We definitely do not have the same concerns. Besides that, there are prophecies that are very clear that there will not be a third destruction of the Commonwealth of Israel. Mm-hmm. So we've had 2, and there's not going to be a third.
What about economic considerations? Many Iranian Jews haven't left because they felt, well, we'll have to start from scratch if we move from Tehran to the United States. What about for Americans to go and economically give up their creature comforts or their standard of living?
The story of Lot in the Torah, when he was informed by one of the angels, the 3 angels, that the city was going to be destroyed, annihilated by God, it uses the word mitmamea, that he delayed. It actually uses a sound, a trop, which is the shalshelet. It goes, It's one of the few times in the Torah that uses that. Mm-hmm. And Rashi asked the question, why is this, what's so special about this delay? And he explains that Lot delayed because of his mammon, because of his wealth. Meaning he knew that his city was about to be destroyed with everybody in it, mm-hmm. but he was afraid to part with his wealth. Similar things happened in Europe. There were many Jews that before the war had the opportunity to leave and chose to stay.
In the 30s?
In the 30s. And unfortunately, I think we're coming full circle again, and we're in a state of immense danger for the Jewish people. I think that if people realized the amount of danger they were in, they would be much less concerned. That having been said, I think that the Jews, you mentioned the Jews in Europe before, the Jews in France understand that it's time to leave, and they're trying to leave, but the non-Jews are offering them pennies on the dollar for their properties, and their real estate is almost worthless. South African Jews, same thing. They can't afford to leave and buy anything. American Jewry, thank God, are still in a position where they can still sell their property, their real estate, and still make some money. This is an opportune time to do it before it's too late.
The November 24 election, do you have any preferences in party?
I have preferences, but I don't think it's going to make a difference as far as the results. I mean, to me, it seems like we're headed towards a civil war here, whether it happens before, during, or after the election. I don't think half of the country is going to accept the results of the election, and it's scary. We see what happens with the riots which burnt down cities here in the United States, and that was relatively minor to what I think we're going to see. And again, when things go south, the Jews are always to blame. There was a great rabbi that once said, "Paranoid Jews live longer."